day that was the snow, and the snow is already gone? You guys, what? Okay, that's what I get for really sleeping in and hibernating through basically all of autumn and winter on Wildberry. Well, hi guys! I guess this is happening. Welcome to the beginning of spring! I am so ready. I am not going to complain. Yesterday was a beautiful, beautiful sunny day with a blue sky here in North Carolina where I currently live, and I was ready for those birds to start singing about spring. I was ready with a spring in my step, and now it's dark and cold and gray and rainy again. But that's okay. I know spring is eventually going to come. One must have faith. One must have faith, Persimmon. Also, I'm very sorry that I left you outside basically all of winter, my dear. How are you doing? Can I play with you? Do you just like, can you just like shake her cage and that's like it? I want to feed you. I want to feed you little pieces of fruit. I'm going to imagine she gets to eat from this peach tree. That makes me feel better. But all right, hello everyone and welcome back to Wildberry Island and another special Q&A episode, because I don't know if you guys can tell, you know, from everything that's currently surrounding me, but there are still hundreds of flowers all over this island that we are going to work at trying to push back, to say the least. All right, I guess I need a new outfit though. Jeez. Okay, let's see. Well, I've got my wand. Let's see if I've got a good outfit that I can actually exchange. My mum wand is so cute. We do have Garden Gal, Kiss the Frog, Fishes, Hungry Hungry Caterpillar! The hungry caterpillar eating up all of the flowers. Oh, I forgot about this. It's so cute. And dual dragonflies just showing up. What? That's so cool. All right, what about Garden Gal? Been a while. Okay, Garden Gal is adorable. And since it's springy, I'm gonna go ahead and I'm gonna be Garden Gal today, ready to pluck up all these flowers and get ready to sow some new seeds. If you really want to see me in action as Garden Gal, then you can definitely go over to our Stardew Valley adventures, because I am living my best life in Stardew Valley. Oh my gosh, the new update is amazing. But all right, like I said, this is going to be another special Q&A episode where I'm going to be answering a whole bunch of questions that our Patreon and Twitch subscribers have dumped into our awesome Discord. And I will try to tag in some of the questions that you guys have left in the comments of previous videos as well. We've got a whole heckin' pile of questions and we've got a whole heckin' pile of plants. So together, we'll be able to do something special. And as usual, if you guys would like to follow along on the Wildberry adventures, that's the playlist in the video description. And if you want to follow along on the Q&A special, I have a special playlist. So no matter what game we go in, when I'm answering these questions, you'll be able to follow along. So you can find two playlists for today's episode down below as well. I am organized. Like I said, living the best life. All right, so that being said, I'm mostly going to focus on just removing flowers today, and hopefully we will have had a live stream to return to Wildberry by now. So don't worry, Wildberry adventures where we actually focus on Wildberry are coming. Also, if spring's coming, I think I actually do want to go ahead and keep the purple hyacinths. So I'm going to go ahead and put that one back down. And we'll head over to Daisy Ridge. That sounds like a good spot to go ahead and start plucking down some flowers if I was going to begin anywhere. All right, I see, and look at all these tulips. They're taking over the town. And here we are. Today's focus, today's foe. Look at all of these. The daisies. All right, let me go ahead and pull up the comments and questions so that we're ready to go. And we're gonna start off with an easy peasy one from Bad Mom over on our Discord. Bad Mom, you ask, what is your astrology sign? And that is a very awesome question if you asked my sister. She would have so many details to tell you. She has a whole bunch of cool tarot card sets. She's really into astrology. I'm not so much into astrology myself, except for the fact that I love being, I don't know like the Western astrology, but I know the Eastern astrology. I think whatever I am I like an Aries? My birthday is March 26th, so it's coming up. I'm gonna be 33. I'm actually really excited about that. But I'm not really that into astrology, except for the fact that in Eastern astrology, I get to be a dragon. So I am Year of the Dragon, and each of the years also corresponds with an element. And so I am Year of the Earth Dragon, which just seems so freaking fitting for me. I love being an Earth Dragon so much that I will claim that for sure. All right, so what else do we have here? There we go. But I mean, if we're gonna talk about astrology, I will tell you what definitely did get me into astrology. It was Fruits Basket. Yep, Fruits Basket. That is the anime, and well, now it's an anime, but that was like the manga when I was growing up, and my sister and I would read so much about it. She had a huge crush on Kyo. I really thought that Yuki's very organized and practical manner was nice, but in the end, I think my favorite was definitely the dragon, the Doctor Dragon. And don't even get me started on Momo. I cry every time I think about Momo, and every time I think about little bunnies. So my sister and I, huge Fruits Basket fans. All right. And then, Ziva, you ask if I could learn any instrument, what would it be? And you actually mentioned how the sounds of the cello and the violin really lift your spirit and make you feel so happy. And Ziva, I swear, every time we talk about these kinds of things, I feel like we just are on the same level on so many things in so many ways for the things that make us happy and the things that just make us feel really joyful. Because I too, if I could pick a music instrument to learn to play, would want to learn how to play cello or violin. I actually really wanted to learn how to play violin in high school, and they actually had violins you could rent at my high school, which is pretty rare. But unfortunately, this is gonna sound maybe worse than it actually was. But unfortunately, when I went to have my mom sign the paperwork, my mom was like, I don't want to have to listen to you practice. And she refused to sign the paperwork for us to enroll in any kind of music stuff because she didn't want to like hear how bad it would be, she said, before we were any good to listen to, which is really, that's really sad when I said that out loud now. But maybe one of you guys have been told something like that in your life as well. And so I want to let you know, yeah, it happened to me. So Seri never learned yet to play any music instruments. And for many years I thought, oh, maybe I'm just not good enough. Because I guess when you're a kid, you interpret like hearing your parents say that as like, oh, you mean I'm not good enough to play an instrument because I won't be good enough that you would want to listen. Kids are very fragile little squishy things, I'll tell you what. And they should be. They're developing their emotions and their personalities. But one of my like take back Seri's childhood plans has been to potentially learn how to play the cello or even the harp after all. So that is on my list of things that I might potentially do. When Chips and I talk about it, he really wants me to get a harp or a lap harp because I do mention it pretty frequently, and it would just make his heart so happy if I picked up something I really wanted to do as a kid that, you know, I wasn't able to because of certain someone. And we've talked about it. So do any of you guys play like the harp or lap harp? Because I might look into that. It might be something that I want to add to my repertoire. The reason we haven't done it yet is a harp is a huge, heavy musical instrument. And Chips and I don't usually know from day to day, like, where we're going to be living in the next year. We won't really know until he's done with his PhD program. And then we talk often about how if the world has opened up and it's safe to travel again after all of this is done and after his PhD is done in a couple years, that maybe we'll want to travel. Maybe we'll want to try living a year in Hawaii where some of my family happens to be. Maybe we'll want to go ahead and just be digital nomads and basically live out of our backpacks for a little while. And if we do that, having a harp is probably not the best idea, but because I wouldn't be able to carry it with me and we'd have to put it in storage, and just the idea of having a beautiful and expensive music instrument like that would be like sitting in even air-conditioned storage somewhere kind of like seizes my heart up, like, ah, what would happen to it? I don't know about that. But I don't know if you guys have some feedback on what it's like to maybe play harp, especially if you're trying to learn when you're older. That could really help me out with making some serious decisions about if I was going to sort of continue on with my plan to take back Seri's childhood and make happy dreams happen. All right, okay, I can't fill up this hole. All right, we gotta go get ourselves a new shovel. I should have bought that shovel. I looked at Tommy and Timmy. I looked in their adorable little eyes and I thought I should probably get a backup shovel. I've been using this one for a little while, but I didn't listen to myself. So let's come back in and I'll pull up the next question. Thank you very much, Ziva. And the next question is by, oh, it's perfect, by Twining Vines. Twining Vines, what's the biggest in real life adventure you've always wanted to go on, but you haven't gotten to yet? Oh, there's so many. There's so many. That's half the reason that like I want to stream at all, is to build up a good practice of streaming. So if I ever got into the traveling that I really dream of, I could bring you guys along with me and be able to tell the story well. But Chips and I talk all the time about travel. And we talk about going on big adventures. Oh my gosh, this is a really cute little shovel. But we talk about going on, well, like really slow-paced big adventures. So we don't want to travel to like go to cities. We don't want to travel just to see new people. We're actually very shy introverts who love forest and quiet places of the world. But I mean, he's a historian, so he always has a unique perspective on anywhere we go. And we would want to travel to be able to see more of the beauty of the world, to really understand like, holy cow, this is our planet. This amazing, beautiful place is what we all share. We want to travel so that we can find more of those special places in the world that make you feel awe and wonder, and also grateful to be alive, and that make you feel like, yeah, I want to take care of this. Yeah, I want to continue to work the message of like, hey, make sure you reduce, reuse, recycle. Hey, maybe minimalism is a cool thing to look into. We want to explore the world so we can see those beautiful places that really remind you why it's so wonderful to take care of this world. And also to remind ourselves of just how diverse and beautiful humanity as a whole is. Because especially when you spend a lot of time online, or like cooped up online like I did with quarantine, for instance, I was getting into some dark places when all of my impressions of other people kept showing up through, you know, internet headlines, which were angry and scary. And I just was finding myself getting more and more kind of bitter towards people as a whole. And that wasn't a happy place to be. And when we've traveled, we've been able to go, we love to go to museums and natural parks. We've been able to go there and we've been able to see beautiful things that people throughout different eras of history have made. And that brings a lot of peace to us, to be able to have this idea that you can relate to and connect with the people who went before us, because it gives you a sense of context that yes, your life is important too. So all of that saying, the big adventures we want to do are basically traveling the world to go see different museums, to see beautiful gardens, to stand on beaches, to be able to climb mountains. And we have talked on and off, and like basically once like his PhD is done and the quarantine for most of the world is done, we actually have talked about maybe going ahead and just traveling, just getting a couple backpacks, a good laptop, finding hopefully excellent places with perfect internet connection so that we can just continue uploading videos from the laptop, and just traveling and seeing where our desires took us. Definitely going to Japan. Going to Japan is a big thing on the list. We've been talking about maybe living a year in Hawaii. We've been talking about just going, national parks for sure. Redwoods, like absolute top of the list. Redwoods in Japan are probably two of the things like really high on the top of the list. New Zealand and Australia for the birding. Holy cow, those are really high up on the list too. And Costa Rica for the birding and just the amazing wonders of the natural world is high up on the list as well. But it'll probably be a very long time before we can travel there too. So, alternatively, another big in real life adventure that Chips and I would actually like to do that does not involve a lot of traveling is the complete opposite of being a digital nomad living out of your backpack. And that is, we've talked a lot about maybe buying a little bit of land and a home in the Appalachian Mountains, where we both know we love the beautiful mountains there. They're misty, the Blue Ridge Mountains. They always seem to have like a nice mist or a fog on them. They are one of only 2 temperate rainforests in the entire United States, the other one being over by Seattle. up in Washington. Oh, like it rains all the time there. There's ferns everywhere. That's where we really took off with our channel, actually, if you guys remember. If you go back to some of the ancient episodes of the vlogs I used to do in real life, it was up in the Blue Ridge Mountains. And the Blue Ridge Mountains really have my heart, to be honest. So we've been talking a lot about moving back there. And this time, moving there in a very deep way that puts down roots and getting maybe a tiny little homestead going, where we would have a fruit orchard and we would have raised bed gardens, greenhouses where we'd try to grow all sorts of different plants. Since we're vegan, we could have a lot of fun seeing just how much of our own food we could grow ourselves. Maybe rescuing some chickens and having some little chimkins pecking around. Maybe getting a dog. I've really started to find myself really wanting to get a new dog, which, like, I never thought I would feel again after raising my last puppy. And yet here I am, like, eyeing up every golden retriever that goes by with, like, wistful looks in my eyes. So that's another big in real life adventure that we've been talking about. And the thing is, we have no idea, like, what the future holds. I think like 2020 cemented that reality into all of our lives in a way that nothing else did, that you just don't know what's going to happen in the future. And so like things could change, and those are two very big and very different directions that we kind of want life to go into. On the one hand, get a homestead and start growing like beautiful gardens, building a gorgeous greenhouse, maybe building a little, slightly larger than tiny, but a small house. So not tiny, but small. It's just the two of us. Maybe getting some pets, finally getting those cats we've been talking about forever. And that's an option. That's an option. But also, on the flip side, there's not really a middle ground here, is there? It's either like homesteading or living out of a backpack as a digital nomad. We just have to wait and see what the world brings us, especially what opportunities Chips might have once he finishes his PhD. Like, maybe he'll get a job offer in Shanghai and we end up moving to Shanghai. Do you guys want to come? Do you want to come along on our adventures to Shanghai? They have some really amazing river otters there who have their own social media account. Some wild river otters who are so popular that they have their own little social media account. That's adorable. So yeah, those are some of the in real life adventures we're planning on. Very good question, Twining Vines. And with the way the world is, I mean, that's half the reason we have a secret behind the series I've started up for the patrons, anybody on our Discord, is just to keep up with like the changes in life. This time last year, like I actually thought like I was getting married in April, and then by May we were going to be moving to Taiwan for Chips to be able to do like possibly a year study in Taiwan. You just don't know. And now our opportunities and our options are totally different. So we'll have to see. We will have to see. Also related to that question and those in real life adventures is Crystal Alpaca asking, if you had a garden big enough and perfect conditions for any plant, what would you grow and why? And oh, that's such a good question. Okay, if it was perfect for any plant, the jade blossom flowering vine. If you guys look for like jade blossom vine flowers, that is definitely the plant. Like, I'll try to remember to put a picture in right now. If I didn't, then go ahead and Google. But the jade blossom plant would be very high on my list for sure. It was so beautiful. The only time I've ever seen it in person was when we went to a gorgeous itty bitty little peace garden on the big island in Hawaii, and I fell in love with it. It was so pretty. It just looks completely different than anything I've ever seen. And if I didn't grow that, I would really love to grow a ton of varieties of heirloom beans. I know that seems really weird. I could grow anything. What would I want to grow? Well, if it's not going to be a cow plant, which doesn't actually exist, very sadly, then I would want to grow some heirloom beans because I think they look cool. I love that there's literally hundreds of varieties of beans, and I've always loved studying seeds. I actually find seeds to be really fun. I don't know, I just think they're neat. that kind of thing. Like, I don't really have a deeper meaning to it. I just think seeds are neat. They come in all sorts of different shapes and sizes and varieties and colors. There's some are fuzzy, some are spiky, some are twirly, some are just like little tiny dots. And they end up growing into these amazing plants. Like, that's really cool. Seeds are awesome. They're just really, really fun. I just think they're neat. And beans, like, grow all of these cool different varieties of seeds. And if you get into heirloom gardening, then there's like lore behind the seeds that you grow, which is just ridiculous to me. There's like a bean, I think, called the Calypso bean, that has some sort of like hero's arc story of almost this plant going extinct and being protected by one little old lady gardener who then spread the seeds through the world. Like, there's all sorts of interesting heirloom seed stories. So I would love to grow a ton of heirloom seeds. That would definitely be very, very, very high up on my list. And beans, just because the seeds are really cool. And I'm sure I'm forgetting a ton of other really awesome plants. A staghorn fern. A really big staghorn fern. I would be very, very happy if I could grow that as well. Alright, let's go ahead. I'm feeling gardener galley today, actually. And let's buy another shovel, just in case. I don't think we've made, like, even an indent on the flowers. Alright, and let me pull up the next question as we continue sorting through questions and sorting through all these piles of flowers. And Honey Bunny, hi, so good to see you. And Honey Bunny Sims asks, what are the top 3 books you've read lately that you've loved? Ooh, good question. So I have like torn through close to like 30 fantasy books over the last 2 months. Chips and I actually have a really cool board inside of his room. His office has a whiteboard up, and we spend some time. We both read a lot. I read for pleasure and for inspiration for work. He reads a ton for work. And so we keep on that board all the books that we've read, and I make a little marker if I've really enjoyed that book, if it was an A+, if it was like a superstar. And my last superstar book series, which actually is a 3-book series, so it's perfect for this question. My last book series was The Red Queen's War. Definitely adult, just so you guys know. Not adult in like so many like sexy moments or a lot of gore, but there's a bit of both. Just to give you a heads up. But it is an anti-hero fantasy story where the main character is the hero, but he's also a coward. And he plays that coward's role to like the nth degree, and yet things do and don't work out for him as a result. And I loved it. I have never read a book where the main character was like a coward. So that was really cool. And then the fantasy, it's kind of like, it's highly fantasy with a slice, just a sliver, just a taste of sci-fi blended into it. And I adore books like that. I love books where it kind of combines fantasy and it also combines just a little sliver of sci-fi. And then my other favorite book that I have recently read, like that kind of counts because it's a 3-book series. So yeah, highly recommend Red Queen's War. I'm actually reading The Broken Empire right now, which comes before Red Queen's War. If you just want something light and fun, I recommend Red Queen's War first. And if you want something that is like gritty, dark fantasy, that would be The Broken Empire. That's much more violent, much more dark. And I'm reading through it right now. So far, I'm gonna withhold any judgment on it until I finish it. But another book that I've read that I actually really like is a cookbook. I Can Cook Vegan by Issa, and we have all of Issa's vegan cookbooks because she makes such delicious food. But this one I have been reading, and I'm going to count it as a book I've read because I have made the walnut brownies, I have made the tofu scramble with additional like asparagus. Like, she didn't ask for asparagus, but I had it and I was going to use it. I love asparagus. And then I have also made the peanut tofu sauce, baked tofu in peanut sauce with baked bok choy. Holy cow, that was absolutely amazing! I loved it. It was delicious. So I Can Cook Vegan, one of Issa's latest cookbooks. That's on the list too. And then my other favorite book, this is gonna sound really random, but it's actually, oh no, my other favorite book, oh gosh. Oh, I need to find the name of it. Oh, where? Here, hang on. Patience. Here, let's go ahead and sit for just a second. I'm opening my Kindle right now because this is a book that was self-published, so I haven't been able to find any information about it from anyone. And the only reason it showed up on my radar is because I found some fan art of it on Pinterest when I was gathering some inspiration for one of our series. I have pin boards for mood boards for all of our series, just FYI. But this book, which I had never heard of, is Among the Hollow. Among the Hollow. That was really an amazing fantasy story romp. I have never heard of it before. I had to dig to be able to find it on like the Kindle bookstore. It is a self-published book, so that's why you don't really see it anywhere. And it's kind of like Middle Eastern historical fiction fantasy meets necromancy. Like, what? There's a lot. I've been reading a lot of books about necromancy lately, now that I think about it. Especially if you include like Hollow the Ninth and Gideon the Ninth, which I also loved. A little dark for what you would think I've been reading. Yeah, look at me, cheerful Seri. It's like, Seri, what are your favorite books lately? I was like, oh, let me tell you one. It's a little vegan cookbook about how to cook all your bok choy so yummy. And then the others are all very dark fantasies that have to do with necromancy. Yep. Wow. You think you know me, friends. You think you know me. But alright, so let me go ahead and pull up the next Q&A. Thank you very much, Honey Bunny. I hope that you and Little Bun are doing very well. And then we have, oh, Lupana! Lupana, thank you! I don't really have a question, but I want to tell you how much I appreciate the example you and Chip set for everyone. You guys are adorable, and the way you always follow up his name with the love of my life, my husband, my best friend and partner, is just so perfect. I think a lot of people forget how serious a commitment like marriage is, so thank you for your fine example. And gosh, thank you! You know, I always tell you guys that even though you don't see him often, Chips is literally the other half of this channel. Like, everything that you see here, it's the fact that we're even here at all is because of him. Like, for example, when we first started, I had just quit a very nasty job at a flower farm. Believe it or not, flower farms can be really bad environments to work if your boss just yells all the time and doesn't like to pay you. But I was looking for a new job and I was like, oh, I'm gonna have to give up this YouTube thing. I just don't have time for it. And he was like, no, you enjoy doing YouTube. Even though we were like literally searching our pockets to find every penny for groceries back then, he said he would rather see me do something I enjoy, and he was like, give it a shot. Just give it a shot for a few months and see what happens. And that is how we really kicked off like zoo crafting, and we really kicked off our channel, and now it's grown into being something where I'm able to return that like loving gift by giving him the opportunity to focus on his PhD whilst I tell stories on the interwebs, and we're able to do this. So yeah, I love Chips very much, and I know he doesn't show up because you know, that's his choice, and also he's very busy right now. He doesn't show up too often, but he's behind every single day. He helps a lot with the tech stuff so that I can just like focus on the adventures, like building my new computer. And most importantly, I mean, he's my best friend. He's the love of my life. Like, he is my partner, and like all of the joy I have comes from many, many places, but the relationship that we work hard to build together and to be kind to each other. We never speak harshly to each other. We've never fought. After like 8 years, we've never fought. So everyone, whenever I tell people that, they're like, oh, just give it time. One day you'll fight. A healthy relationship requires fighting. And we glance at each other and we're like, right. I hope I can offer just a little glimpse of how awesome it is and what it looks like to just suddenly find yourself in the middle of a love story. And the irony is, I ended up meeting Chips literally 3 days after I had this huge like moment where I was like, you know what? I'm just gonna work on myself. I don't need like to have a partner to make me happy. I just need to be me. And like 3 days after like I had this huge personal like eureka, my life is completely transformed forever, come to myself awakening, I met Chips. So it was like the energy just was right, which I always crack up when I think about. But yeah, I mean, we're not perfect because like no couple is. And I wouldn't want to put that kind of pressure on like anybody. Holy cow. That would be a lot of pressure. All right, how do I, every time I forget, give me my tools. All right, and I need to now put in my little shovel. There we go. But, I mean, there was a time in my life where I was like, oh, I'm going to be alone forever unless I try to conform to these, like, ideals, or maybe I'll just have to sacrifice in a relationship some things that are important to me or let me flourish. And let me just tell you guys, nah. Hold your ground. Work on yourself. Dig your roots in deep. Grow and flourish, and wait until you find somebody who you can grow with and flourish with. And they may not, like, it may not be perfect right out of the gate. Like, we've had to work on a lot of things over the years, but that's what growing up is. You're gonna change as a person as you get older. So it's wonderful to meet someone who you feel you can grow and change with. And that means that, like, sometimes you might need to be a little patient, but it also means that you're gonna really want to know more about who you are inside. So yeah, I don't know. I'm not like a relationship guru. I just really love plants and my husband. But I too remember what it felt like to feel like no one would ever love me, and I was never going to find anybody in life. And I wish I could go back, and if I could tell past Seri anything, it was to not worry so much and to just focus on flourishing myself. Because I tell you one thing, when you do find the love of your life, one of the most important things becomes growth. Like, it doesn't mean you slow down. If anything, half the reason that I do the really hard things that I do, that I take on the challenges that I do, are because I love Chips. I love him so freaking much. And I want to give him the best in the world, so that means I'm going to work really hard to be a good person and push myself into uncomfortable situations that, like, aren't really bad uncomfortable. They're just like, well, if it was just me, it would be so easy to give myself excuses not to have to grow right now. I could just not face, like, whatever discomfort is there. But then when you really, like, fall in love with somebody where you feel excited about the idea of growing because you know you want to bring out your best self to be able to shape the world around you and to share with them. So there's my relationship advice, little fish. I have no idea if it made any sense, but we'll just have to leave it there and work on all of these hyacinths. That was almost a poem. Oh, I can't work on the hyacinths. My pockets are full. But alright, so thank you very much. That was very, very sweet of you to say, Lupana. Alright, what else do we have here? Oh, hey! It's kind of a Chips-related question from Cinnamon Bun. What's your favorite historical place and era? Ooh, okay. So, before I met Chips, my favorite historical place and era. Gosh, I don't know if I had one before I met Chips, actually. But my favorite historical place now is, ironically, the time period that he studies, the 1100s ancient China, which wasn't always called China, just FYI. And I love it because, I mean, I've got a literal, professor in the house where I can ask any kind of question about what the 1100s in China was, and he usually has some insight. Did you know there were people who would actually have, like, takeout food? Takeout food is not something that's modern. Like, you could have little menus and people would go pick up takeout food all the way back when. Like, those kinds of things. Or to talk about, like, what poetry... Oh, book stands, hey. Oh, cute! I'm happy we've got that. But yeah, I would say the 1100s ancient China, because I've learned so much about it through Chips sharing all that he is learning and all that he is an expert in with me. So it's a little bit of a cop-out, but come on, the more you learn about anything, the more people usually find they care about it. That's one of the reasons I think it's very important for people to learn more about animals they don't think are very important, or animals that they think are ugly. Like the hellbender, the giant salamander, or a lot of people don't like snakes and spiders. But I find it to be that when you teach people more about the things that they say they're not interested in or they don't care about, then they actually do end up caring more about it. So I think it makes a lot of sense. I like the 1100s ancient China because I've learned more about it than anything else because my husband's an expert in it. So yeah, that makes sense. All right. Wow, look at this. We've tackled the daisies. I am so proud. I'm gonna have a sip of tea real quick. And then we're gonna look at some of the newer questions so I can catch up with some of the newer questions the patrons have asked. We have a lot of them. Ah, nice hot peach tea. And then we will also poke in and we will explore some of the questions at the videos, just to add in a couple from you guys in the comments section. But first up, Derpy Guy 200 asks, have you ever gone skiing, and if so, where? And the answer to that is no, never. I have never been skiing or snowboarding, and I think I managed to go sledding maybe once as a child. Maybe. I vaguely remember my grandpa telling me if like the sled started heading for a tree, I should roll off of it instead of crash into the tree. But I don't remember actually sledding. But I grew up in Texas. So I actually was born in LA, and I spent most of my childhood in Texas, like Houston, Texas. And then I ended up spending a lot of time in Missouri, which is very flat and doesn't have many opportunities for skiing. So I've never really been anywhere where skiing was ever an option. Like it's never been like a winter sport that I could just choose to go do, unless you count when I lived in the Appalachian Mountains. And then like, I mean, it seems kind of dangerous to like be a complete novice in, to not nobody who skis and to just be like, yeah, I'm just gonna go do this thing. So no, I've never been skiing, but have you? I'm quite curious now. My Sims have been skiing and snowboarding. That doesn't really count, but it's about as close as I've ever gotten. I don't think it's off the list, but I'm not sure if it's entirely on the list of things that I would want to do either. I gotta think about it. Maybe it just looks scarier and more dangerous than it actually is. However, I can tell you, my parents used to ski all the time. You guys, I'm gonna drop a shocker on ya. So if you want to know what kind of people were Seri's mom and dad, okay, this is gonna be a little bit of a shock, but guys, they were literally the jocks in high school. I'm not even joking. My dad was the surfer boy, like, jock who played a bunch of games, and like his brothers were in gymnastics, and like my dad was a complete musclehead, and he's the first to like be very proud about that in high school. And my mom was the cheerleader, literally the blonde cheerleader. Like, I never ever will forget the day when I was trying to like think about why my parents and I see life so differently. They're completely not into athletics anymore. Like that disappeared with high school. But I'll never forget the day where I was like, why don't my parents understand my passion and desire to do nothing but just read all day? Like, what is it about this? And then, like, why does my mom keep wanting me to go to all these parties in high school? That sounds like the worst time ever. And then I started looking at pictures of them in high school, and I started listening to all the stories they talked about, and I was like, oh, my parents are the jocks! So actually, like, I felt I have fallen so far from my family tree in terms of interest and what I do and how I think, that it's kind of a running family joke that like I am the apple that fell from the family tree, rolled down the hill, like fell in a river, and ended up in another country, to explain how different I am from a lot of my family. And yeah, I say that just because it came to mind. Who do I know who skied? My parents used to ski. I don't have any stories about that other than like it just was amongst much of the jockey stuff that they did before they had kids, and then all of that just disappeared. But alright, so there's a little random tidbit for you. And then let's see, what else do we have here? And then also backlog, you ask, are there any Chao that you had that you were particularly attached to, or any fun or unusual experiences you had raising them? And for those who are not aware, Chao refer to these adorable little creatures in Sonic Adventures 2 that you could raise. And we started talking Sonic Adventures 2 in the Patreon Discord the other day because it is available on Steam. You can even mod it a whole bunch. And I loved raising Chao. And my sister and I used to play like all of the Sonic games, and she had the biggest crush on Tails. So I'm just throwing her under the bus on like creatures and characters she had a crush on as a kid, aren't I? All right, I'll fess up. I had a little bit of a crush on Knuckles, but just because I thought he was misunderstood. But anyway, yeah, we were really young back then. Anyway, Chao are, like I said, little creatures that you can take care of and you can raise. And you would collect different animals and items and feed them to your Chao. They started off as like neutral, and then depending on the different items that you gave them, they would develop different personalities. Kind of like a Tamagotchi that changed. Well, actually, no. The better comparison would be like if you fed certain candies to your Pokemon and their IV changed, and then their appearance changed with their IV. Most of you will probably get that reference. If not, it just sounded like Gillerly to the rest of you. Don't worry about it. But I don't actually remember any specific Chao that we took care of, and that's probably because my sister and I played together the whole time. And when we were playing together, what I do remember is we were really proud about our Chao school. We decided we were running a school, and we had a notebook where we would write down like who was in the different classes and what we were trying to train them in. So I do remember that. That was really fun. I have good memories with my sister of raising Chao in the Chao school back then. All right, but otherwise, unfortunately, few memories. Probably reaching too far back into the childhood to try to dig any of those out. And then Toby, hey! And Toby, you ask a fun question. Where would you live if life was a video game? For example, for me, it would be interesting to live in niche and see how far I would be able to make it as a niche creature. I would actually either love to live in Animal Crossing, because it's kind of obvious, or Stardew Valley, or honestly, the Pokemon world. And man, we'll talk about that another day, because there's another question that I'm saving talking about if I could live in a Pokemon world and why I would love that for. But the Pokemon world, probably, if I really slow down and think about it. Because there's so many different types of creatures to visit with. You can bond with them on entirely different levels. Like, I just love the idea of having a garden full of little Oddish. Oh, that would be so cute. Stardew Valley would be fun, but I guess Stardew Valley, I mean, it goes back to like that homestead idea. And then Animal Crossing would, you know, whenever I'm really stressed or sad, actually, I think about what if I lived in an Animal Crossing world. So I would probably want to live in an Animal Crossing world, now that I'm thinking about it. You've got debts you can actually pay off, which for any of us millennials is a wonderful fantasy world to be able to just dream of. And then you've also got like just a lot of kindness. Even the ones who have kind of a snotty personality aren't that snotty, all things said and done. And there's just such a sense of peace. And there's just something nice about the idea that you can actually like, you know, just spend your time tidying up an island, making it look nice. There's just something, what is it about Animal Crossing that just can make you feel super at peace? I'm not sure, but that's probably where I would want to live. But where would you guys want to live if you could pick any of the video game worlds to live in? Because I think that would be really fun to give that question a little bit more thought. All right, and then we're gonna wrap up with one more question, and I randomized it from the comments in our previous videos, and this is from Shane. And Shane, you asked, what are some animals you really want to see in Planet Zoo? I was actually just working on Planet Zoo before recording this, so perfect timing. I want to see a platypus. I want to see an itty-bitty, teeny-tiny, absolutely adorable platypus. That would be really fun to see in Planet Zoo. So platypus would be great to see. And I would also like to see, we already have kangaroos, which is fantastic. I'm thinking of a lot of Australian animals at the moment. Let's see. I mean, actually, I guess platypus is the biggest one. They're very small. I am so sad that we just missed seeing them in person. They have a couple at the San Diego Zoo now. We saw their enclosure being built, and we actually talked to the employees who had been spending like 2 years working on all of the paperwork to try to apply to get a platypus in their zoo. Australia has extremely strict regulations about who gets platypus and who don't, and you have to meet a whole bunch of regulations. It's a huge political, like, topsy-turvy world to get through, a lot of red tape to get through to be able to get yourself a platypus. So I really, you know what? Yeah, I'm just gonna stick with that for right now, platypus. But what other animals would you guys actually like to see in Planet Zoo? Because now I'm curious. I don't think they're done. I mean, I feel like Frontier has a lot more Planet Zoo to offer. Look at how amazing our world is. Look at how much is in it. There definitely is more to offer. But alright, so I think that's enough questions for today, even if we do still have a ton of flowers to go through. I need to drink more tea and rest up before I get back to work on more of our adventures. And thank you guys for joining me. It's just fun to like chit chat with you and to share little hidden insights that maybe you didn't know about me or my family, and to just explore Wildberry and make it pretty again. So alright, thank you guys so much for joining me. If you could, do please leave a like for the transformation of Wildberry into a more spring-like realm. And if you would like to join us on this and literally thousands more adventures, do please consider subscribing. But most importantly, my friends, stay curious, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye-bye!